our third webinar in the series of From Crisis to Calm. This is our healthy mind and body portion, so I'm really excited to get started. My name is Nicole Christensen. I'm a board-certified patient advocate and owner and CEO of Care Answered, as well as the author of the book From Crisis to Calm, Patient Advocates' Take on Healthcare Coordination for You, the Common Caregiver. So throughout all of these webinars, what we're trying to do is get to the calm and be prepared and not scared. So we have a lot of wonderful tips and panelists to provide that information for us today. So I'll just speak to you a little bit about basic housekeeping here. So if you are unfamiliar with Zoom, if you put your mouse at the bottom of the screen, you will see different icons there. There is a chat portion. If you have any questions or comments, please put it in that chat. You can put them in at any time. After each presenter speaks, we'll leave some time for questions, so we'll get to those questions then, and we hope to get to everybody's questions or concerns or comments. So again, thank you for being here. I'm going to start us off. What I generally talk about is how to navigate in this new healthcare landscape that we're in during this COVID-19 crisis. But I'm just giving information, again, to be prepared. I'm going to go over some things that I've talked about before because they are so vitally important, like healthcare proxy, but also about how to access our loved ones if they're hospitalized because there's been changes made. And then I have with me today, Sangeeta Ahuja. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly, Sangeeta. She is a longtime friend of Care Answered. We've worked together. She's wonderful. She's an occupational therapist, as well as the owner of Fit to Function. And I'll talk to you a little bit more about her in a moment. And additionally, we have Alina Heights, who is a mindfulness coach and a meditation coach, as well as an author. And she's going to speak to us a little bit about mind wellness. And so we're gonna start off with again the information, and then we'll go to them. So it should be a really great meeting. So again, what I'm going to actually start with is a deep breath today. I feel like we all need one. I do. So I'm just gonna take a deep breath. Take one with me, please. Better. Okay. So I'm going to talk about healthcare proxies or healthcare agents. They're often called healthcare proxies here in the state of New York, but each state, they can be called different things. It's basically designating somebody to make healthcare decisions for you when you cannot do so. So therefore you are incapacitated and you've spoken to someone and let them know your choices for what you would want to have happen. Unfortunately, during this pandemic, I hear time and time again of horribly sad stories of folks that did not select a healthcare proxy, did not make their healthcare choices known or desires known, and their loved ones get calls from their clinicians asking what they want done. And as painful as that is, and as hard as that is, they have to come up with a decision as well, because they haven't had that conversation. It's so vital that we have these discussions and select our healthcare proxy. It doesn't matter your age. It doesn't matter your health. It doesn't matter. These are really difficult times, and it's extremely difficult for a loved one to make that decision without information directly from you. There's also the stories that I do hear that are just much more calming and provide so much more closure, When somebody's had that discussion, they've designated the healthcare proxy. And again, as painful as it is to come up with those decisions, do they want to ventilator? Do you want to incubate? All of those things, they know the answers. So they're not making the decision, they're just speaking the mind of their loved ones. So I urge you all to select your healthcare proxy and have those conversations and have them as ongoing conversations. It will feel like a relief to have that conversation. It will feel like a relief to know that it's done and that's not something that ever has to be on somebody's mind what to do. So please, please do it. When I send out the video for this webinar, it will also have the New York State healthcare proxy form. It's not difficult to fill out. You can also, you can always call me, or I can direct you to a elder law attorney that I've worked with in the past. I've worked with several of them. I know a lot of great ones, but really a healthcare proxy is more about the conversation. The proxy itself has to be signed before 2 witnesses. That's all. You just need 2 witnesses. So doesn't have to be notarized even. So I just want to leave you with that and make sure, just put it in your mind and get it done today, tomorrow, sometime very soon, okay? The next thing I want to talk about is hospital visitations. So there has been some changes to that in New York State. So many of us were preparing potentially if one was hospitalized that they would be going alone. I'm not saying that the hospitalization itself might not still be the case, but the Department of Health, New York State Department of Health, on April 10th, gave new guidance, some updated guidance. Many of you may have known before that there was a lot of concern, especially with pregnant women, that potentially they would have to give birth in a hospital by themselves with no spouse or loved one or family member, nobody except the clinicians there. And so there was a lot of advocacy actually done for that with many people. I was one of them, and it was a successful advocacy endeavor. So for those that are in labor and delivery, they can have one support person with them if they are giving birth at this time during this pandemic. I'm going to read straight from the guidance a little bit so that there's no misinformation. And again, I will have this available so that you'll have it. So for labor and delivery, again, the Department of Health considers one support person essential to patient care throughout labor, delivery, and the immediate postpartum period, including recovery. This is also available for pediatric patients. So the department considers one support person at a time as essential to patient care in the emergency room or during hospitalization. So you can designate 2 people, but only 1 at a time. Also, for patients for whom a support person has been determined to be essential to the care of the patient, medically necessary, including patients with intellectual and/or developmental disabilities and patients with cognitive impairments, including dementia. So that is a change. Again, you can designate 2 support people, but only 1 person at a time. And lastly, for patients in imminent end-of-life situations, the department considers 1 family member and/or legal representative at a time as a support person who should be permitted at the patient bedside. Again, you can designate up to 2 people, but only 1 person at a time. So that's a huge change. Obviously, there are risks involved in going to any kind of healthcare institution currently during this crisis, but for some, it's absolutely necessary, or they feel it's absolutely necessary, and this allows one to do so, to be that support person. There are specific protocol as far as hand washing, things that you must wear, that you have to stay in the room except for entering and exiting, and that kind of thing. And there's different protocol for those that have COVID-19. So the patient has COVID-19, and for those that don't have COVID-19. So again, it's articulated within this guidance and it'll be available to you. But I felt it was really important to know that you could be a support person if you felt it necessary. So please share that with other folks. They will actually take the temperature and they will do other protocol to the support person to, again, protect them, the person, as well as the personnel and other people in the hospital. Okay. So does anybody have any questions about that? Okay, great. Then the other thing that I wanted to share was something from New York Health. And I don't know about you, but I imagine since you're here, that we're all going through the ups and downs of this crisis, the ebb and flow. There are times where I feel fine, and there are times when it hits me out of nowhere, and I never know when it's coming. And so the reality is this is a stressful situation for each and every person in the United States and the world. So we have to give ourselves a little patience, and sometimes knowing and recognizing that this is part of the stress is helpful. So there are some points that I want to bring out. And so some of the effects from the social distancing as well as the stress can be seen in many ways. One are physical. So things like fatigue or headache or exacerbated medical conditions, pre-existing medical conditions that are now exacerbated because of the situation, because of the crisis. Emotional effects, things like anxiety or anger, fear. Mental effects like confusion or forgetfulness or difficulty making decisions. And then behavioral effects, like argumentative or short-tempered, or changing in sleep patterns or eating patterns. We've heard, I know on social media and from my friends, you know, our eating patterns are sometimes very different because we're home and potentially we have access, quick, easy access to food, and we may be utilizing that. I know last week in the webinar with Chef Harlan, he was talking about a few ways to kind of combat that. But knowing that this is part of the, I want to say grieving or crisis period, is sometimes helpful to be a little bit more patient with ourselves and care for ourselves a bit more. So without further ado, oh wait, I have a question here. So Sharon Cohen was asking if the same rules apply for those in skilled nursing facilities or a traumatic brain injury patient who cannot make their needs known. Actually, it's only written as such, the guidance for, as this is as far as visitation or having a support person. As far as I can see, the guidance is for hospitalization. I don't know. I can only tell you anecdotally that that has been very difficult. I know that folks that are not able to articulate their own concerns and decisions that are in skilled nursing facilities are having a very difficult time, and they're being the hardest hit, unfortunately. So I don't know the answer to that question. And also with the visitation, even with the hospitals and the particular populations that I mentioned, just because it's a guidance does not mean that the hospital staff knows about this guidance. And so as we all probably had the experience with any kind of institution, healthcare or otherwise, the information gets trickled down and maybe not as quickly as we would hope. So that's why I think if you want to be that support person, having the guidance with you may be helpful, or at least articulating it and knowing that the guidance exists when you're talking to personnel may speed up the process for you. I have another question here to clarify from Lisa. To clarify, the support person can be there with someone who has COVID-19. Yes. So it's for those folks that do have COVID-19 in which their support person is deemed necessary. So again, it's for those that who may have intellectual and or developmental disabilities and patients with cognitive impairments, including dementia, as well as for patients with an imminent end of life situations. So it's not necessarily for everybody that is in the hospital with COVID, but if they fall into that category, or pediatric, if they fall into that category, then a support person is allowed. Okay, so the other question, I'm sorry, where do we get the guidance? Is that something you are sending? Yes. Yes, I'm sending it. It's from the Department of Health. Okay, and it was issued on April 10th, which is different from the original guidance, obviously, because it used to be nobody could come in, even for pregnant individuals that were giving birth. These are great questions. Does anybody have any other questions in regard to that? Great. If you do come up with questions, feel free to put it in the chat and I'll do my best to answer them at the end as well. Okay. And you can always contact me at Care Answered if you have questions or you want to ask about things. I'm always here. So with that, I'm going to further introduce Sangeeta, who's going to talk to us about body health in this time when we're home. Those of us that are fortunate enough to be in our home, what we can do to keep ourselves physically healthy and doing what we need to do. So take it away, Sangeeta.
Hello, everybody. First of all, I wanted to thank Nicole and Teresa for having me on the panel. My pleasure. I came up with this quote yesterday, and it just summarizes what I'm going to do today. The quote is like, if it's all about knowledge, we would all be skinny and rich. But it's not what we know, it's what we do. So there is so much information on Google about how to do your stretches, how to get fit, move around, but how much we do ourselves. I'm guilty myself, we've been becoming so much of couch potato, being at home, working from home, sticking to that one chair. And so that quote is perfect for, it's not just, how much information we are getting from WhatsApp on Google and everything. It's just, please just get up and move and use it. Three things, actually, let me introduce myself. I'm Sangeeta Ahuja, and I'm an occupational therapist, like Nicole said. And I've been an OT for 27 years, and I own my own outpatient physical therapy clinic in Hicksville, and we provide occupational and physical therapy. And there are so many differences between OT and PT. I think that is for some other time to discuss about. Today we are here to talk about our body health being at home. Three things we have been doing sitting at home: eating, sleeping, and Netflix, right? I mean, I'm the guilty one. The other three things I need to talk about is very important: stretching, cardio, and your strengthening and breathing exercise. So stretches, like I said, there are so many stretches are out there on the Google, on WhatsApp. but it's just putting them in a sequence is very important, and remembering from day to day how to do those. So we put up these stretches, like starting from your eyes all the way to the toes. So I'm not going to go over each one of them, but there are these 2 exercises for each body part that you can do while you're watching your Netflix. Sitting, standing, it doesn't matter. Just making sure you move every part of the body from your eyes, your head, shoulder, elbow, all the way down to your toes. Very simple and easy to do. And like I said, there's no restriction as to where you should do it. There's no prep work required. So perfect to do sitting at home. The other thing with the COVID, the majority of the patients are complaining about short of breath. That is one thing that has been a major characteristic of COVID. So to have your lung capacity to the maximum, it's extremely important in these time and days. So there are certain breathing exercises that I want to show, but then today I'm going to show you this one particular exercise. Anulom Vilom actually is the name of it, if anybody wants to look it up. Very simple and easy to do. What it does, it forces the air deep into the lungs, and it maximizes your lung capacity, right? So I'm just going to give you a quick demonstration. This is the position of the hand you're going to do. And if anybody wants to do it with me, go ahead. So what we are going to do, we are going to put the thumb on the right nostril, and we're going to close the nostril with the thumb. And with the left nostril, you're going to breathe in for the count of 4. And then with your ring finger, you're going to close the left nostril, release the right, and you're going to breathe that breath in for the count of 8. So right and left is going to be your 1 set, all right? And you should do it for the set of, like, count of 4 and 8 for 4 sets. And this, even like you do once a day, it really builds your lung capacity and gives you that, strength for those lungs to be able to withstand for whatever comes. Sitting at home, the major excuse is we don't have equipments, we don't have gym, I don't have weights, how should I do the exercises? You can use anything that you have at home and still do all your strengthening exercises, all your cardio. You don't need to have a treadmill or a bike, or, not necessarily you have to go out and running. So cardio is very important to build your endurance training. So endurance is like, some people are able to walk for a mile, and some are able to do 9 miles and then come back and do another half hour of training. So every person has different that endurance of the body. So that 1 mile I was talking about myself, that 9 miles was my daughter. So it's like crazy, like how we are all so different. But again, even if you're able to do half mile, that is your own body's capacity. So work with your own body capacity and build from there. So there's no competition. Cardio, if you don't have treadmills or by the way, all these flyers are going to go out. So we're not going to go details into everything. I just wanted to give you guys an idea. So jumping jacks, if you are, like I said, being a couch potato, watching HBO or anything, you don't have to be getting up and down and jumping. From the sitting, either chair or couch or anywhere you are, just do your jumping jacks. And just sitting on the chair, do your running. Anything to keep your heart up. Nothing else. You just bring your arms in the front and just do these smaller arm rotations, or on the side, same thing, just smaller arm rotations. Because the longer your arms are up in the air, heart has to work harder to maintain that position. So you are building that heart capacity to be able to get that endurance training that you get from treadmill or walking or running. And for doing the cardio and the stretches, your body needs to be strong enough to be able to sustain all these exercises. So the strengthening exercises, in general, we use dumbbells, weights, or, in the gym, all those machines, the equipments that we go and use. But at home, sitting at home now, now that I'm home, I'm getting a lot of phone calls. People are complaining of neck pain and a lot of thigh pain. Reason being, we are constantly on the computer, on the phones, looking at all that news that's been put up on WhatsApp. So constantly looking down. So patients are calling me for a lot of pain right here at the scapula. That's that one spot. And that is from your cervical weakness. The other thing, including my husband sitting on the chair, like working from home these days, complaining of these thigh pains. We call them IT band stiffness. So all these pains are from literally sitting down. And the best exercise is just walk up, get up and walk just every half hour. Other thing to do is all these strengthening exercises. So what I usually do, I've been doing a lot of telehealth these days. So I've been using these water bottles. And if you want to make it a little more challenging, use a heavier water bottle. And the water bottles with the neck are the best ones, because you can challenge yourself just holding on to the cap and using the whole body, whole weight of the bottle instead of just holding at the bottom. Because you can hold the bottle and then feel yourself. So if you're holding the bottle from the bottom or just the cap, so it's different weight feeling. So you can challenge yourself depending on how you're holding, or like I said, the bigger bottles, again, that also has a cap. So when you're lifting it up, filled up, you are getting that weight, sorry. So all these exercises, very simple exercises, just moving your arms out, up, dead weights to the side, just straight up, curls, anything and everything, those exercises, you can use the dumbbells, you can use these water bottles and do them. The other things are, don't forget your hand and the wrist, because any stiffness on your neck and the shoulder is going to show up in the hand. So just the simple wrist exercises, up and down, turn, and then lift like this, lifting the bottle up and down, and then turning. So this turning exercise, like I said, if you're holding in the middle, is the less weight. If you're holding at the bottom, you feel more weight, but the maximum weight of the bottle is when you're holding onto the cap. So challenge yourself depending on where you're holding the water bottle. The leg exercises, it's very hard to do because usually in the clinic we use the ankle weights. But here we can use, these are called isometric exercises, where you can do the strengthening exercises without using any weight. You're using your body weight itself to be able to make those muscles stronger. So the exercises for the knee, for the quads and the ankle, you can use a rolled up towel and put that between your knees and squeeze, hold for count of 3, 1, 2, 3, relax. And same thing, then you can move the towel towards the feet, and same thing, you're going to squeeze, hold it for count of 3. If you feel that is not enough, you can even go up to 5 and then relax. So the longer you hold the muscles, greater the resistance of the body. And all these exercises, do it for the cat for 8 to 12 each exercise, because they say going up to the 8 rep for any exercise, that's when the muscle is being activated. So 8 to 12 is the perfect set for each any exercise, arms or the legs.
Thank you, Sangeeta. That
You're
was
welcome.
awesome. We have a lot to do. We
I
have
know.
we had a lot of exercises that we have now. We have no excuses.
Like I said, use this knowledge and just move around.
Thank you so much. That was so helpful. Now I'm going to introduce Alina. As I said before, she is a mindfulness and meditation coach and an author and an excellent networker. We've worked together for a little bit, and she has provided meditation assistance for caregivers. So without further ado, Alina, can you share with us some tips on grounding us and keeping us calm during this time?
Hi, everybody. Well, calm is definitely something that everybody would like to have all the time, right? To be calm and serene and relaxed. But let's be real. We live, first of all, pandemic or not, no pandemic. We live in a fast-paced world. A lot of us are in New York. We're always moving. We're connected to our mobile devices, TV. We have families. We have a lot going on. So sometimes it's really hard to feel that centered. So I just want to start off by saying I'm not going to ask you to, sit on your work desk and start, namasteing, here. Like, I try to come from a more of a realistic point of view. Now, there's nothing wrong with being a yogi, and there's nothing wrong with feeling calm, cool, and collective. But I definitely know from my perspective, working from home full time with a 5-year-old and a spouse who's working, like what Nicole was saying, we have emotions from all over, from the calm, cool, and collective, maybe when you wake up, and by the end of the day, you could be feeling totally different. So I'm coming from that perspective. So I'm going to give you 3 different ways to keep calmer. So I'm not going to say you have to be calm, but a little calmer. Maybe just take it down a notch. So you're at 10, let's take it down to 8. You're at 8, let's take it down to 6, just or 2 notches, right? A little bit. So I loved how Nicole started, and she said, everyone take a deep breath. So wherever you are right now, and I'm going to calm my tone. And if you're showing your face or not, feel free to close your eyes. And if you're sitting, ground your feet on the ground. And if you're laying down, I want you to take a really deep breath. Breathe in, hold it, and then release. And breathe in again, and release. And I always try to do 3 of them at least. So let's do one more. Breathe in, and hold and release. So that is actually one of my 3 tips to keeping calmer. So the first tip that I am going to cover very quickly is, number 1 is keep it to the facts. So what I mean by that is, let's not get caught up in what's going to happen tomorrow, what's going to happen in the news, what's going to like keep it to the facts. Sometimes when we look at things that are not true, or we're creating or projecting in our own heads, it's very easy to get anxiety. It's very easy to be up here. It's very easy to be not grounded. So when you were breathing, you probably felt very grounded. You probably felt more present. And that's the goal. The goal is not to be like that all day, even though that would be great. But the goal is to be there as much as we can, and to know that we always can access that. We always can access a little bit more of a calm. So when I say stay present, a lot of people are like, oh, we hear this all the time, be present, be mindful, be in the day, that really just means keeping your head where your feet are. So I'm going to say that again. Keeping your mind and your brain and where you're actually focusing and your attention on where you actually are, where your body is. So what that means is not focusing on what's happening, what the laundry I have to do, what are the things I need to do in the future, when that meeting's happening, when I'm going to do this, when are they going to open up the country, when are they like just sticking to the facts. So right now the facts are that we're all on this webinar that Nicole set up, and Teresa's here, and Nancy's here, and Bonnie's here, and York's here, and Lisa's here, and Sangeeta's here, and Cindy's here. So those are the facts. Okay, so we stick to the facts. The fact is, I'm in my kitchen, right? I am not at work. I am not in a studio, a yoga studio, and I'm definitely not on the beach, which I'm sure we all wish that's where we'd like to be. But that's not the facts. So let's rein it and streamline into what's really happening and the facts. And when we stick to the facts, there is a sense of comfort because we don't have to focus on what's going to happen 3 days from now. Second one, and it connects to the facts, is keep it simple. Keep it simple. Let's keep it simple. This is not the time to get your life more complex than it really is. It's streamline it. If you need to create a routine, if you need to create a schedule. I was talking to somebody about breaking up your day. You know, if you have to take it 1 minute at a time, if you have to take it one meal at a time because you can't even think about cooking another dinner, or, you know, like just stick in the simple. And, you know, this is also a time not to, you know, to beat ourselves up or to be like, oh, I'm not doing enough, or I'm not working hard enough, I'm not being a good enough parent or a teacher or whatever. This is not the time. This is the time to have compassion for yourself, to keep it simple, to be gentle on yourself, to breathe and know that, you know, this is like the name of the webinar. This is not the average day. This is the new normal. So, and then the third one that I'm really going to focus on is breath. And we were breathing before. So the reason, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a counselor, I'm not any of that. I'm a regular professional that, you know, is out there. But I have to tell you, breathing deeply is a game changer. Do you ever just take a deep breath before you have something big to say to somebody? You know, you're like, if you, or you're sighing, right? Almost a sigh, you know, sometimes a sigh can be like, oh, you know, but I mean like a sigh, like, breathing also brings oxygen up to your brain. So there is a sense of physio, you know, biological like relief that comes with breathing. So if you're, like Sangeeta was saying, between meetings, between events, if you're getting up anyway to do one of her exercises, I encourage you to breathe, to really breathe into it. So sometimes it helps to have a little mantra or a saying or something like, you know, I breathe in hope, and I breathe in love, or I breathe in positivity, I breathe in sun, something like positive. So I want everyone to take a second, and I'm not gonna go all into the a guided meditation for the sake of time, but what I am gonna tell you is that you can breathe and access calmness at any time. So take a minute, and we're just gonna close our eyes. I'm not gonna close my eyes because I'm going to guide you for like a few seconds. But I want you to go back to that breath that we did in the beginning, and I want you to breathe in. Think about a pretty place that smells good, maybe the ocean, maybe flowers, a garden, a forest. Just breathe in and just let it out. And I let go of the negativity. I let go of things that don't serve me. I let go of things that bother me, you know, that's not serving the highest good for me and my friends and loved ones. So we breathe in positivity, and we let it go. And these type of practices, you know, imagining you're a tree, I call it, you know, you're grounded in the roots of the ground, but you're a tree and you're stretching out to the sky. You can do one of Sangeeta's stretches, right? You know, and those type of things are great. And I can say, oh, do this 5 times a day. The only way you're really going to get to do it is if you make it a practice, and making it a practice might be setting your cell phone alarm. And as funny as it may sound, you might need to set an alarm that says breathe. And yes, we all breathe all day, but maybe set an alarm at 10 a.m. and sorry, my dog, and one at 3 p.m. and just set your alarm to breathe. And remind yourself that you're a human being. We need to take care of ourselves, and remind yourself that we can stick to the facts of what's really going on, stay in the day, don't look into tomorrow, don't worry about yesterday, stay in the moment, keep it simple, and remember to breathe deep breaths. And I promise you, it will help. It will help you. Just those 3 little things. So thank you.
Thank you so much. That was great. You guys were excellent. I feel calmer already. Well, let me see if there's any questions here. Let me look at chat. I haven't seen more questions. I'll give it another second just in case people are busy typing away.
So Elizabeth, I'm glad that it helped, the breathing exercise.
Oh, yeah, yes. Yes, we all need to do this throughout the day. It's absolutely true. I also have some other information as far as apps from New York Health that I'll make available as well for people. They have a whole line of free apps during this pandemic. Anything else? Well, I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I did. Thank you again, Sangeeta and Alina and Teresa, for making this happen, making us all up here and looking good. And oh, thank you. And taking for the apps. I'm looking forward to sending them out. Oh, Sharon's going to get some fresh air right now. So excellent. Thank you so much for being here. Again, I will send out the information, the video of this, as well as the different documents that we discussed so that you can have access to it. And in the meantime, take care of yourself. We'll be also sending out some information or some questions about what topics that you think might be helpful in the future, because we'd like to start again in May. So again, I thank you for spending your time with us. I hope you got a lot out of it, as much as I did, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the future. Take care, everybody.